for sure. I mean, I guess that, yeah, I've got a little note here saying, like, are you running one guild with 8 teams or 8 guilds under one banner? And I suppose to an extent, actually, I don't know. What would you say is
I think we are one guild with
one
8 teams.
one guild with eight
Yeah.
teams?
So like,
Yeah,
and what I mean by that is, I mean, each one of our teams are autonomous from one another, but we are, like I mentioned this earlier, right? Like our guild is based off of the identity of being military and veteran. That's
yeah,
the
yeah,
guild
for
culture.
sure.
Like everything else is
Yeah,
secondary to that.
because I guess the way I was just looking at it there before I asked you was when you look at a typical mythic raiding team, it exists of leadership and the raiders, and then some socials if they have that or not. And they don't really have much identity other than that. So then the question becomes a little bit muddled because the guild is the team.
Yep.
But then when each team, like you said, has its own identity, they have their own rules, their own leadership. But then they're all with under this one umbrella of the same general idea, which is the military background that does then become one guild with 8 teams. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Cool. Moving on to another topic, perhaps. Um, I mean, we are talking about the goals, but we've kind of answered that one. I
Yeah.
would say each team set their own goals, which is fine. That's a good one. How do you, um, if you have any experience in it, prevent cultural drift between the teams? So, example, if one team was to, I don't know, say exactly like that thing where I said one player maybe fancied moving up to Mythic. One of the two, is it five, six, three heroic teams you have, yeah?
Yep.
So if they were to start, half of that raid team decided that they were interested in going for cutting edge at the end of the season for the upcoming season, and half of them kind of wanted to stay where they were, how would it be dealt with? Or if it has happened in the past, how was that dealt with? Did they split off and make another mythic team and you filled up the other half and filled up the other half of the heroic team? Or what sort of
Think the closest
idea do
yeah,
you
the
have there?
closest that we've actually dealt with that in guild specifically has been the DDT split, which is the one night raid team
All
split.
right, yeah. So yeah,
Um
it was just become its own
Yeah, and
guild,
we just I mean,
its own own
I'm
team.
good at what I do. Like I'm a very good recruiter. I can fill any raid team very quickly, very
Hmm.
easily with the people that they need to have with the guild culture fit of people that we need to be able to have in. That being said, 9 times out of 10 when it comes to the cultural drift on teams, like teams specifically, we usually allow that to happen. Like some of that stuff is good for a
Okay.
team, right? Like some of it is you
Hmm.
have some people like the good example that we have. So we had a team. We do at the time we just called it the community raid. It was just it's one of our heroic raids. But it was just kind of like a hey, I've got nothing going on a Friday, Sunday. We want to do a little bit of raiding. We have some people that aren't able to get on the mythic teams because you can only have those 20 people in the team.
Yeah.
And so they're like, hey, we're just gonna kind of create like a community raid for people to come out and hang out on Fridays and Sundays. But that started it, but it's morphed into something bigger than it was. And they
Yeah.
call themselves the weekend warriors now. And it's now a full-fledged heroic raid, but they're dabbling into mythic towards the end of the season. This season before pre-patch, they were like 2 or 3 mythic. And it was just a let's go have some fun and let's go see what we do. But so like some of that is healthy for a team to be able to be doing. It's just when it starts to become a problem, that's when we step in as a guild, as guild officers to say, hey guys, look, this team like this maybe this team is different than what you guys wanted it to do. Let's go ahead and look at up another potential team over here now for what you guys are looking for.
Hmm. Makes sense. Yeah. I mean, yeah. What Sorry, I've lost myself there. Going on to, like you said there, with each team having their own specific goals and they can maybe have different ideas. And if they have the different ideas, then they have a new team's born from it. A new team's born from it.
Mm,
And is it two cutting edge teams you have
correct.
that go for that?
Yep.
Yeah. When it comes to like the culture and like ego and comparison, if there is any, how would you stop internal comparison between teams? Like as such, I mean, it wouldn't really happen in raid as such, because of the way you've structured the raid teams and how they specifically operate. They have their own their whole structure.
Oh, you'd be
But like
surprised.
when it comes to well, you can answer that one, sure, but when it comes to things like outside of
Yeah,
raid guild wise, like Mythic
yeah.
Plus, how how does that work when you have people from potentially a mid-tier Mythic team trying to run keys with cutting edge guys that typically have a different view on how things should work? How does that conflict, if there is any
So
conflict, how
so
does
there
that
is. So
work?
let me back up just slightly to answer your first question. Number one, there's
Yeah, sure.
absolutely egos between every single one of our raid teams. There you
Mhm.
cannot be at the level that some of our guys are at and not have an ego in some way, shape, or form, and that ego can cause
Right.
problems when we're dealing with
Yeah.
stuff. So this is a big topic right now within my guild specifically within the officer corps. Um, we had this last season, season three. One of the things that we decided to do as a guild was my Discord moderator decided to create a an unofficial guild to race to guild first, right? Like who was
Right.
ahead,
Okay. Yeah.
who
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
doing something, like what was going on, and he would go through and he created a picture for it, and he would update it, on a weekly basis, and he would let everybody know where each one of the teams were at, etc., right? But it caused
Mhm.
problems because each one of our teams are different from one another. Like my team is an end level mythic, but we are never shooting for cutting edge. We have the one night a week raid that has an unfair advantage. I'm sorry, disadvantage because they're only raiding once a night. But then one of our cutting edge
Yeah.
teams, they raid on Wednesdays and Thursdays, which is the latest any of my Mythic raid teams do. So on paper, on this picture, it's looking like they're losing some of these fights, when in reality
Right.
they're by the end of the season they're getting further than anybody else. So
Yeah.
like all of that stuff like really caused a lot of drama and problems within our guild as we were going through and doing
Mm.
this stuff. And because there were people that were taking it more serious than it really was meant to be.
Mhm.
It was meant to
Yeah.
just
Yep. Yep.
be like a small, like, "Hey guys, this is kind of fun. Let's have a little guild competition type of thing," and people just started taking
Yeah.
it too seriously.
We ran a small in-guild MDI, similar thing, but with Mythic Plus a few seasons back, and yeah, the exact same thing happened. People, the way we structured teams was it was like a roll of the dice. You get assigned with everyone that signed up, one tank, one healer, three DPS, and yeah, huge mismatch in expectations and what people were wanting to do. One, like you said, taking it seriously. Other people were just wanting to have fun, and yeah, it did cause some confliction.
Yeah. But yeah, we took a look at that. We ran it all through the last season. And when it came to this next season, going to midnight, we took a look at it and we're like, hey, do we want to continue this? And we had a discussion as officers. Hey, do we want to continue this? Do we want not? Like, where are we at with this? And some of the people were
Mhm.
very adamantly like, no, this is causing friction between the different raid teams. I do not want it to continue. Where other people were like, no, this is great. Like this is pushing us to get better and doing what we need to do. So we had conflicting
Mm.
ideas within the officer corps. So what did we do? We put out a survey for all of the guild and said, "Hey,
Okay.
guild, where are you guys at with this? What's going on here?" And we kept it up for a while. It's still technically up now, but obviously people have kind of stopped doing it. But I think
Yeah.
by the
Yeah.
end of
Yeah.
it, we had like a good 70-80% of people were like, no, this is good, this is fun, we like the
Okay.
fact that this is going on, let's keep it going. Or they liked it but they wanted to see a couple changes, and we had the
Okay.
ability for people to tell us, hey, what did you like about it, what did you dislike about it, so we can adjust based off of what we were seeing with the real data at real time. So we're making some changes going to this season. There is that for there is a little bit of friction. Every team has the ability to be able to say, I do not want my team to be part of this. That was a major change that we
Okay.
did this season because that was not something that we even asked anybody last season. It was just like
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
part of it. Um, so we do have at least one team that is like, hey, no, I want to be stepping out of it. I don't want to be doing this. That's our one night of raid team. Like I said, they're great people,
Yeah.
great players, but they just are at a disadvantage because they're only raiding one night a
I
week.
mean, yeah, it's fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, then so to answer your other question, right? So like outside of like the ribbing outside of it, honestly, we don't see it that often. At least not as far as I'm aware
Okay.
of. We have people running Mythic Plus all the time with one another, crafting, talking with one another from different groups. Like our guild is very cohesive. And even though
Hmm.
that they're on specific raid teams, people do things together all the time with other raid teams. I was actually on the military, the VFW MDI team, season 2 of the War Within, and I had
Okay.
3 other teammates on in my guild that were also on that team with me. And so like, and then we were all on different teams, we were all kind of just there doing it together. And we got to group up with a lot of people in guild. And I think
Hmm.
that realistically we didn't see any of that stuff going on. Now granted, if it's going to be happening, people aren't going to say it to me because I am who I am in guild. But so maybe it does happen, but
Yeah.
I haven't heard it.
Sure. One thing I've come across a few times over the evolution of the guild is when we've had a certain group of people that like to do hierarchies. For example, I mean the key levels and stuff have changed
Mhm.
a few bits over since Shadowlands Dragonfire and the War Within. But typically, like the general area was like 18s as they are now. Um, so like old, I guess
Ends. Oh, okay,
28s,
okay. Yeah.
if you can even like compare it to that
Right.
anymore. But yeah, like 18s as they are now. Um, with people back when we were transitioning in Dragonflight that struggled with weekly 10s at the time, which were 20s then,
Right.
right? But 10s now and 18s now, and they were wanting to do these, the 18s, 19s, and not quite understand the extra handbook of stuff that changes when you come out of like that 10 to 12 region to the 16 plus region. Um, and yeah, we had quite a bit of issues of people feeling like they were being excluded or left out, or not point blank being told to the face they're not good enough, but people in that group were hinting to the point that, or just flat out saying no, we're not inviting them and ignoring them. I just wonder if there's any of that you
No, and
had.
that's the great best thing about the guild, right? Like, I mean, the
Wow.
fact
Okay.
that it's
Yeah.
so big, if you have people that
I mean, yeah. When it's that big, you're always going to have people at a similar level, I
right,
guess.
and like
Yeah.
so the
Sure.
thing is, like, I mean, you have people that are great raiders that just do not like to do Mythic Plus. Like that is just not their thing to
Yeah.
do, and they either do it bare minimum, or they don't do it at all, and that's okay within the guild like ours. Like it's because we're so large, we have those people that are going to be pushing those 18s, 19s, 20s, within guild, to be able to get as high as they possibly can within Mythic Plus, but
Hmm.
those people are coming from different teams. Those people are like in and of themselves just rare individuals that are able to push that high. But then you've got the
Yeah.
majority of people that are the vast majority of people that are pushing 10 to 12s, right? Like that's the area that most people push this last
Yeah. Yeah.
expansion
Yeah.
was at 10 to 12s. And they get their vault slots, they do what they need to do, and that then they're done for the week. That they checked off box off of their they ticked a box, right? Then you have those other individuals that aren't really looking to do Mythic Plus, but they are looking to maybe gear an alt, or hey, I've got nothing going on a Saturday. I can do some like lower level alt stuff or lower level Mythic Plus stuff. And those people, like that's a sizable chunk. You're talking anybody above a 12, you're talking maybe 10% at most in guild.
Okay.
You probably have about 70% that is at that 10 to 12 range. So you're looking at about
Hmm.
20% of the guild that's looking underneath that 10. And so that's 20% is still a considerable amount of people within my guild. I mean, that's
It is.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
talking like 40 people within guild wanting to be able to do
Yeah.
something like that.
Do you guild side put anything in place for them, or do you just let it naturally
So
occur?
we
Just keys in
at one
general.
point we did have a Mythic Plus officer who set up Mythic Plus nights that everybody was in there doing Mythic Plus, but that was when we were much smaller. As we've grown and gotten bigger,
Yeah.
we've really learned that let it happen naturally. Let those things
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of like let people will gather together with the like minds of who it is that they want to be able to get together with. Like they know the people that are able to push as high as they want to be able to push, and so they naturally group with those
Yeah.
people. What we are looking at doing is doing that thing that you just talked about, right? Like that in guild MDI, that in guild great push
hmm
that we are wanting to be able to kind of set up. So that will be what our Mythic Plus officer role is going forward, which is
One thing I will say,
what?
sorry, is let people pick their own teams.
Yeah,
Let
yeah.
people pick their own teams. Do not throw people randomly together.
And especially if they don't know each other,
Yeah.
it just doesn't work.
Yep.
But no, like that's so like that's what we're looking at doing going forward, and that's something that's still a work in progress. Something that we're still in the middle of just barely discussing right now, which is let's see
hmm
what we can do here. Like we've got a lot of people in guild. Let's give them things to be able to do. Let's make
Yeah.
people enjoy playing the game rather than feeling as if they're forced to play the game.
Yeah. Like on the topics of like that, forcing people together, we Liberation of Undermine, we had a slight problem with people interacting with. We have a requirement that you need 2 vault slots per week,
Hmm.
right, out of 10. And it wasn't. We were like trying to implement this, but like without just flat saying this is what's
Yeah.
needed. Because this is before we put the anvil down and we're like we're cutting edge. This is our goal now. We were still in between whether we were ready for it or not. I hadn't seen the progression that was validating it on my side that we could do that, right? But I seen it halfway through the season. That's when that happened. But yeah, in Liberation of Undermine last season, we put in place a mythic groups that were pre-assigned each week randomly. 1 tank, 1 healer, 3 DPS within the raid team, right? So it's like four groups of 5, and they were shuffled about each week. And you then within that group were to discuss with everyone when the best times for your that group would be to get together and do keys. And the scheduling was the number one thing, trying to find a day where everyone was available. That was a problem. And then just I wouldn't say what's the word, comparison, because everyone relatively is on the same kind of level, but people weren't in the mood to chain 8 keys. Some of them were. Some of them wanted to chain 3-4 keys in a row. People like to take 30-minute break between keys, and it was just some teams would get, if they got a lucky roll where all 5 of them like to do keys, it would be good. They'd smash them out. And then the other teams that maybe had someone that barely, do 1 key every few days throughout the week and then end up with 4 for their vault at the end, didn't want to chain 3, 4, 5 keys together in an evening, and it just ended up with people having not having a solid group, and they ended up just pugging anyway. And then yeah, it wasn't great. We're not bringing that back. We're going back to just natural.
Well,
Do what you want.
one of our
Get
things.
your vault somehow.
Yeah, one of like so each one of our teams is completely different, right? Like so my team, I considered doing that last season, right? Like I had put it in our expectations of, hey, you need to be having X number of vault slots, you need to be having doing X number of Mythic Plus, et cetera, et cetera. Like that was something as consideration.
hmm
However, when I put it out there, I got a reality check real quick from one of my raiders. Like this the individual, his name's Mike. He immediately
That's reminded me of I got a reality track at some point this season. I'll come
yeah.
back to it when
But well,
you
he
finish there.
immediately reached out to me. He's like, "Look, I am not doing Mythic Plus. I do not want to do Mythic Plus." And he's like, "What do you care whether or not I do Mythic Plus or not, as long as my island level is up where it needs to be?" And I thought about it. I sat there and I really
I
thought
mean,
about it. And
fair
I
actually.
thought about it. I was like,
Yeah,
yo, that's actually not a bad point. Like really, that's not a
yeah,
bad point. So I changed my wording on my thing. Was like, okay, look, I don't care how you gear up as long as you are within 5 item levels of the average team, the team average. That's all I care about from now on. Like you want to do world content, you want to do dells, go right ahead. You want to do Mythic Plus, go right ahead. You want to raid LFR, normal, and heroic as we're doing Mythic to try to keep your eye level up to where with the five eye levels. Hey, let's do it. Go ahead and do it. I'm cool with it. Like what do I
hmm
care how they raid or how they play the game, as long as they're at the same comparable eye level of where we needed to be. I'm not a cutting edge group. That was the big thing, right? Like I'm not trying to optimize my team's trinkets or their
yeah, yeah,
weapons and stuff like that. Like that I do that personally, But why am I trying to force the way
Yeah,
that I play onto somebody else? That's gonna cause burnout. That's gonna cause people to just get pissed off about how I am trying to micromanage how they play the game. I didn't want to do that.
hmm
I eventually was like, you're right, Mike. You are not wrong here. Let's go ahead and just back off this idea and allow you guys to figure out how you guys need to get your eye level up to where you get it.
for sure. I mean, yeah, it's a similar situation, but it was after the fact we initialized the cutting edge goal. So we had, from my reality check, it was more. It's not really a reality check. It was more just a misjudgment and a mess up on my side. But we put the vote out and we came to the conclusion that everyone was on board. That's the goal that we're headed to. We agreed that there will be some changes, and changes went out. Everyone agreed to them. Relatively, relatively happy. And what we did was, because it was after we killed Soul Hunters after we killed Soul Hunters and just before we killed Fractalus. Fractalus didn't last very long, so we Cora killed the boss for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
but yeah, it was around that point in the season, just before starting Nexus King, and because vaults were kind of more or less like a 1 in 10 chance to get something actually useful at this point. We didn't feel like that was going to change anything, but we had people in the team that were slightly below the standard eye level wise and gear wise that we'd like for putting us in the best position for Nexus King. So what I did was we put it's going to sound strange, right? But we put a minimum eye level, not so you could show up to the raid, but that is like the expectation of what we wanted everyone to have, so we could kill, be more efficient on getting the boss down. It put everyone in the right place that they needed to be to get the boss down, right? And I set that at 724, I think. Myself sitting at 727 or something at the time, 728, right? Thinking 724 is fine. No, 729 I was at the time, right? I was like, 724 is fine. Forgetting the fact that I run Mythic Plus 10 times, no, not 10,
A lot.
drastically
Yeah.
more than the average person does, and spends more of the free time on the game than people normally would. But the goal of the eye level wasn't necessarily the point that backfired. It was the the time scale in which I put this on. So some people were sitting, it was this people that were hovering around 719, 720 that I wanted to push up to 724, right? At a minimum. And I put this out on I think it was a Sunday evening at like 2 a.m. or something, right?
Hmm.
And I thought that gives them 5 days or so until reset, or 4 days or so until reset, or something like yeah, 4 days until reset. I worked it out. You do the crests, because they were uncapped at this point, and you just run a couple keys and you'll be able to upgrade your gear sorted. I didn't take into consideration that people didn't have myth slots in every tier, so they were capped at 720, no, 718, was it? Whatever the heroic cap was at the point of that season. So not everyone had myth gear that could go up to 720, 730. Not everybody. I also, when we added up the crests, it was something like 150 crests or something in total to get you from 720 to 724, which one of my raiders pointed out and added up that was like, I don't know, can't remember, it was like a 10 keys or something.
Right.
And then putting that across 4 days to me seemed fine, but to when you actually took it, it was like 9 hours of gameplay or
A
something like that.
ridiculous amount. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh shit. So there was quite a lot of backfire on that. They were like, what the fuck, what the hell, you want us to do this amount of keys in this amount of time? What's going on? So yeah, there was massive backlash there, and I reevaluated and was like, yeah, okay, we'll push this forward. This now comes into play 1 week from now.
Yeah. So
doubled the time.
my brother,
Yeah. So it was two resets essentially they had instead of just 4 days.
yeah, we ended up
Yeah.
so when we ended up coming up with this idea, like originally, this was back during at the very end of Liberation of Undermine. My At the time, my brother was my co-raid lead and my main tank. But
Hmm.
my brother also is a postmaster at a post office here in the States, and so his
Right.
time outside of raid was very limited. Outside of the fact
Yeah.
he had a family, he also had to be driving an hour and a half each way for work. Plus, he had to stay there for a minimum of 8 hours. Usually, he was there for about 10 hours at work, right? So
Right.
we were getting to the point though where we were doing later stages of liberation of undermine, and his item level was 20 item levels under what the average team member was. And
Hmm.
he wasn't holding us back, but it's definitely requiring more healing to keep him alive than
Right. Yeah.
the other tank. So eventually I had to tell my brother, like look, you're obviously not able to put your all thoughts into this. We're gonna have to bench you for right now. I'm gonna bring in a new tank, at least until you are able to get yourself up and running to where
To
you
your
need to go
caught up
to.
to speed.
Right.
Yeah.
So he took off for the rest of the season, so he can kind of focus on what he needed to focus on personally. We brought him back this last season, and he kept within that 5 item level very, very well. And he doesn't do any Mythic Plus. He did a very little amount of delves, so he was able to keep up with the rest of the team, just raiding for the most part. But he was
Hmm.
always lower. He was always on the lower end, but he was able to keep up with it. So we never there was no reason to say boo to him. Like as long as you keep up with that item level, we didn't care how you got there. Just get there.
Right. Yeah. 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 For sure. Cool. I would. I wonder if I'll go into that later or not. Yeah, we'll do that later. Sorry, we'll go on to more of the come away from raid for a moment and go into like your recruitment
Yeah,
side and how you handle that, because that is a job within itself for a single
yeah.
team. I'd be interested in finding out how it's handled and how you do it and if it's split up or not. But yeah, is recruitment per team? So like, is there a specific individual that recruits per team, or is it guild wide?
It is guild wide. I handle all the guild recruiting. Now there are teams that like to have a little bit more of a hands-on approach with the recruiting, where
Right.
sometimes they will go out there and they will recruit their own people. DDT, my one night team, right? Like that is a very unique rating experience. So they like to be able to make sure that they are finding some of their people, but even then, I'm still finding the people for them. Um,
Right.
Traditionally what happens in my guild is a team will let me know, hey, I need X, Y, and Z. So I will go out there to all of my resources, using all of my resources to find X, Y, and Z for that team. um Once I start finding those types of people, right? So say for example I need a preservation evoker on one of my mythic teams. I will then go
Hmm.
out and find as many preservation evokers as I possibly can find that are looking for mythic, that I feel are competent enough to be able to handle the level that that team is currently looking at. I reach out to all of those
Right.
people. I get in touch with them. Some, like, I mean, maybe 25% ever respond back to me. But I start the
Right.
process of recruiting at that point. I let them know exactly what the team is, who they are, what's going on. I let them know a little bit about the guild culture. I have two articles that I send to every individual person that comes into the guild. One of them is related to guild culture specifically, and it's a longer article that explains exactly who we are and what we're looking for with our teammates. And then I have a yearly um, a yearly state of the guild that I put out every single year, and I give that to this person as well. That way, they know exactly what they're getting themselves into. I cannot name for
Hmm.
you how many times I've had people that I've spoken to or that have come into guild, and it was just different than what they were expecting. And some of
Right.
that was on my fault, on my part, because I did not explain it well enough, or I didn't explain it at all. Because in the middle of talking to somebody, I'm focusing on the specifics of what's going on rather than the guild culture as a whole. And
Right.
so I just give them those things, let them read it at their own leisure, make sure that they're a guild culture fit. Then I start working on them in terms of, hey, are you going to be a fit for this raid team or not? Does this time work for you? Are you looking for these same goals that this individual raid team is looking for? Once I get done with that, once I know that they are the type of person that I'm looking for a guildmate, I
Hmm.
then get them into Discord. I then take that person's name, Discord name, I shoot it off to my team leader, whoever needed it. Say, hey, hey, this person is in guild. They are looking for you to reach out to them. They are look what you're looking for a guild mate. And then that team then reaches out to them individually and sets a time to be able to meet with them and have a conversation with them about their own individual raid team.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, for sure. Like how I mean, for myself personally, recruiting is almost like another part-time job on top of guildmaster, running stuff. How how just in general
How
do
do
you
I do it?
recruit for 8 teams?
it's
That is
I am I am lucky enough in my life where I there's two answers to this, and both of them are equally effective here. Okay. Number one, I am
okay.
lucky enough in my life where my job that I have allows me the free time to be able to recruit when I am at work. When I am at work, I am
Right, okay.
consistently reaching out to people, talking to people, getting them into my Discord, like whatever I need to do. I am consistently doing that at work, because I just have that ability, that capability where
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
aware. The other way that I'm able to
for
do it
sure.
is all the different ways that are just there naturally for any recruiter. So guilds of WoW, the guild recruitment discords, either the European one for EU, I don't do these that one, but the NA one for me. I also use I have bots that send when people are looking for recruiting on Warcraft logs. I have bots where people are looking for on recruitment on Raider.io. I am attached to about 20 different Facebook groups that are all related to recruiting, and I go out there consistently and I post out there, hey, I am needing blah blah blah. If anybody is interested, here's all of our information, here's all of our details. Go ahead and join our Discord. Let's go ahead and chat. And so it brings in everything that I need and more for all of my raid teams
Hmm.
consistently, just doing it myself.
Do you have any tips or that towards avoiding when you're recruiting for a more standardized guild, but for sure on your scale, how do you avoid burnout? Like recruitment is
You have to
it's a
love what
tolling
you have to love
process.
what you
I find
do.
it
You
anyway.
have to love what you do.
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
legitimately, if you don't love recruiting as a guild or as a guild officer, find somebody who does.
Just find someone who does. Yeah, okay.
Like,
Perfect. I mean, yeah, I don't think there's a better explanation than that. Yeah,
like I
for sure.
love doing what I do. I'm very good at it. It's something that I really enjoy, making sure that all of my teams are satisfied and exactly where they need to be. And because of that, my
Brilliant.
teams are never want for what they're asking for.
For sure. That makes sense, yeah. What sort of like turnover rate do you look at if throughout the teams?
Each team is different. I would probably say, probably on average, probably about 10 to 25% of our team gets turned over, depending on the team. So, like DDT
Yeah.
is very stable. That's the one night
Okay.
a week team. That team,
I mean, yeah, it's
yeah,
quite a specific raid
right.
times and that kind of thing.
Yes,
So
and
yeah,
because
yeah,
of it's very specific, they're not looking to go cutting edge, and so everybody that comes into that group, they're very well aware of what their goals are. Like,
yeah, yeah,
so the team technically has a lot more people than they actually want, because a lot of people are looking for something like that. Um,
for
Whereas
sure. Yeah,
our cutting edge teams, they're constantly looking at getting better. They're constantly looking at, hey,
yeah,
I need this person's good, but I need somebody better. And so
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
always I'm always recruiting for those teams. My team, so the way that my idea works for my team, which is the way that I treat the entire guild, is I expect about a quarter of my team to be different in heroic during the initial push of a season. So if I have 30,
Yeah, heroic skill and mechanics doesn't always transition into mythic too well.
right. So I mean, I have on my team, I bring in about 30 people. So about 5 people are going to be new on my team every single season. to ensure that,
Yeah.
like, it allows me to be able to bring in new talent and new people, potentially getting better as a team as I'm going forward. It also allows us to be able to continue, like you've mentioned this in one of your videos here recently, which was brilliant. Like, I am constantly recruiting. I never stop
Yeah.
recruiting. And it's not just because of the fact that, like, my teams are always, I have a large guild and I'm always needing people for each one of my teams. No, it's because if you are not constantly recruiting and constantly getting better, then you are getting worse. Like,
Yeah.
or staying stagnant at the very best. So, like, my team, like I said, 25% of my team on TGM is always being recruited every single season. I am immediately identifying weak spots within my team, and I'm immediately going towards those types of things. So, for example, this season I
For
needed
sure.
a rogue going into season one, that is, of Midnight. I needed a rogue, I needed a priest, I needed a shaman, and I needed a monk. Those four things were the four things that I'm sorry, and a druid, right? Those four things were the four or five things that I absolutely needed. So I hyper focused on those things. Did my best to make sure that on my team I had at least two of each of those things as much as possible to make sure that that they are doubled up just in case.
Mm-hmm. For sure. How so for example, if you're taking in for your team, if because it's you said each team's run by itself, so you can only kind of speak for your own team if that makes sense. How do you handle it? Say if you've had a member that's been there for quite a
Mm-hmm.
while, but you're planning on having them replaced for whatever reason it may be with a new recruit.
Honest,
Do they slot into a reserve more kind of role if they are to be permanently sort of replaced? And again, I'm sorry, I'm piling on
you're fine.
questions on top of it. And when it comes to like, because obviously you have a roster that's larger than 20, you need to have that, as I've mentioned in previous videos myself. Um, do you, what sort of things can those that don't quite always make the starting 20, what can they expect in your team?
Yeah.
Like, do they get consistent reclears or that kind of thing? What?
So the first question, like, I mean, in terms of I expect at the beginning of the season everybody is even. There is nobody that is, like, there are very few, like, looking at my roster right now, I think I have my two tanks that are guaranteed a spot going into Mythic. I have these are all my different tools I've got going on here. I've got one rogue on my team right now. I've got one shaman on my team right now. And then one of the monk is my tank, so obviously he's already slotted a spot, right? Outside of that,
Yeah.
I have doubled up, tripled up as much as possible on every other class and every other spot to make sure that as we are going through, that there are nobody that's guaranteed a spot. I I personally do not um I know that we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but I personally do not raid on my team. I am the 21st man
Okay.
on my team. I do not my spot is, I'm a good player. There's nothing, like, I'm a very good player, but I want to make sure that my teammates get that spot first.
Okay.
And so I always go into this planning on me being on the outside looking in on my raid teams. So as of right now, like I said, I've got 3 spots that are locks, or sorry, 4 spots that are locks. Everybody else, they're all fighting for something. I've got 5 healers on a 30-man raid team, so I only need 4
Mhm.
going into Mythic. So there's all 5 of them are fighting for a spot right there. Um,
Yeah.
I've got plenty of DPS, and each one of them are all doubled and tripled up in terms of the different types of specs. So, I mean, it is what it is. We're gonna, like, people are gonna have to. I might have to have potentially uncomfortable situations with individuals that I've been friends with for a very long time, that have been there for me, pull in and pull out, that have been there for expansions and raid tiers and years worth of
Hmm.
stuff. I have people on my team. I have one person on my team right now that I'm looking at. He has been on my team for 10, 12 years, since Legion, right? Like, he's been there since for forever. Outside of my brother, of course. Like, my brother's been there since vanilla, but, like, outside of that, like, this other guy, Austin, he's been there since for forever. Um, and at some point, if he's not doing what he needs to do compared to the other two demon hunters, I would have to have a
Hmm.
conversation with him. It doesn't matter if it's me, it doesn't matter if it's the GM of the raid, which is my brother. It does not matter if it's the my co-raid lead. I don't care who it is. if you aren't doing what you need to do on my team, I have somebody there that's going to be taking your spot. And that sucks.
Mhm.
That conversation sucks to have with people. But
Yep.
it
Yep.
needs to happen. Otherwise, as you know, you start to get into a well, this person's only here because they've been here for so long and I'm better player than they are and blah 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 blah. Like,
Gets into some guild politics in my most recent video that
yep.
officers start making specific decisions on specific topics. So some players are dealt with based on their skill level or their performance, and some are based on how long they've been on the guild in the guild for. And yeah, it's really not a path you want to
So I know that not everybody
start
is going to
going
be able
down.
to see this, but I'm going to show it to you real quick, right? If you look at my screen right now, I've got it set up where I am going through, I keep everybody's stuff written down every single week. I update this spreadsheet and I've got their DPS parses, I got their healer parses, I've got the mechanic parses, which is found over at Wipe Fest. I've got an
White
average. Yep,
Fest, yeah.
I got an average parse for everything. I do a weighted average. So if you're DPS, your DPS matters more than your healing does. If you're a healer, say, healing matters more than your DPS, etc. I've got my first 4 deaths, and that's a big thing for me and my raid team. If you are constantly in the first 4 deaths on my raid team, we're gonna have conversations. Like, I don't care what you're doing. Like, if you are the first one to die all the time, we need to fix that. Like, there's mechanically you are doing something wrong there. Um,
Okay, how are you measuring the first 4 deaths? Because I would like to steal that after this, if that's
I
possible, please.
literally like yeah, I literally go out to Warcraft logs. So like when our logs get uploaded for the night, I go out to
Yeah,
Warcraft logs. I go through and filter out for first 4 deaths
right,
per
okay.
boss or whatever. Then I have a on here I've got on my back page, I've got it literally set up for each and every single fight, right? Oh, sorry, that's the wrong
Yeah,
thing. I'm sorry. Here's my first 4 deaths, right? This is the first week, right? I will just input it. I will put in, hey, Lily had two first four
right,
deaths
okay.
on the first night. On the second night, he had one. Blah 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 blah, all the way
But it's
down.
all manually put in, right?
Yep, I have to manually
Right,
input
okay.
all of this
No
stuff in
problem.
here. Then it will add up for total deaths, first 4 deaths, and then on my spreadsheet it will automatically put into here first 4 deaths, the total.
Right, okay. I get you. Yep, sure.
But yeah, I go through, like, I mean, me and my code raid leads, we consistently go through and we are constantly updating this. Like, we've got it set up where, like, I've got it already set up where it's going to their Warcraft logs ready for me immediately to go check it out. For whenever I need to go take a look at something, like, we've got it all set up. Like, if I went to see, let me find my tune here real quick. Here's my tune, right? So let's say my DPS is 95, my healing is 45, and my mechanic parse is. Oh, this usually comes from the back page, but that doesn't really matter. I'm not gonna mess with it right now. But like, see how it's
Yeah,
like all changing colors to what it should be.
yeah.
Like, we go through and just, and then right here, like right now, my average parse for everything is 46.7. That's averaging these two together.
Yeah,
And then this right here is my weighted parse. It's averaging these two together based off of whatever it is. So my average for me is 50% for DPS, 10% for healing, 40% for mechanics.
I see. And then it puts your deaths comes from the back page.
Correct. Yep, and same with the mechanic parse. But I'm not gonna go through and add all the
Right.
mechanic parses.
And that's through Wipefest, did you say?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Whitefest is out
Yeah,
there
okay.
that will allow you to be able to look at the mechanic parses for an individual. And
Yeah.
that's where I go and pull them from.
Okay. Then when it comes to someone that has been benched or necessarily isn't expected a consistent slot through
Yeah.
Mythic, what sort of thing what's your process then? What can they expect from the
So
team
number one, I expect
throughout the
every
season?
individual that's on my team that if they are going to be on my team, they have to be okay with being benched. That is a
Okay.
conversation that I have with them up front immediately, letting them know it is a possibility that if for whatever reason, either I don't need you for that night, or hey, we are progressing. I need my progression team out there, not the people that are going to be my bench team out there. Like, whatever it is, I let them know well in advance. We start that conversation. I have a season three. I'm sorry. I have a personal team expectations and goals that I go through with each and every single individual that comes onto my team, and they are well aware ahead of time what my expectations are for each individual person. Um, and so when they're there, like what we've got set up right now is when we have a boss on farm. Okay, and a farm is a subjective term for us. We don't we
Yeah.
like we choose when we're on on a farm boss or not. Whenever we're on a farm boss, we will bring in anybody that's on our bench. Like we will make sure that we're getting gear slots for them, we're getting vault slots for them, we're making sure that they are getting experience on some of these bosses, that when we need them to come in, they are used to how we do things and the way we do things on different bosses. Like that is our goal right now with the way we're doing it.
Now, when you have 10 people in that position
Mhm.
each week, how do you swap 10 people in for specific bosses, or is it sort of staggered through the weeks through the bosses or that kind of thing?
It's staggered for the most part, but it just really
Yeah.
depends on kind of who's available for that week. Um,
And how much on farm the boss is,
correct.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and
Do
yeah,
you do you expect do you expect your reserves to still show up for every raid for this dedicated
I
time?
expect
Or are
everybody to
they
show
sort
up at the
of
beginning of every raid every single night. If I don't need
okay,
them and I'm let them know ahead of time, "Hey, I do not need you," after everybody shows up, they're welcome to leave. However, if they wanna stay, they're more than welcome to stay and be able to watch as well. Like I said, I am 21st manning
okay.
it almost every single week. So I am on the outside looking in. I am sitting here in Discord watching their streams to be able to make sure that they are doing whatever it is that needs to be done. I'm keeping track of that consistently. Um,
Yeah.
and so everybody else can be doing the exact same thing that I am doing. Learning the fights from the outside, watching the other people do it. That way, if we need to get somebody in,
Yeah.
we can do that.
Can to bring back to the point of the roster, you said you've got a at least two of every class. I think we are in a similar position. We just have I think monk is the only class we have one off, and it's our tank.
That
Yeah,
automatically gives a
we
spot.
have which it does, which is the only, and we have one or two flex tanks. But yeah, at the moment we have like one guaranteed spot. The rest are,
You win your spot.
apart from our healers, are pretty. We have multiple of each class,
Yeah, so we
so
have
we're
2 flex tanks and we have 2 healing flexes right now.
yeah,
And I mean, we have found over the years that the most important thing is having flexibility. Like people that are able to
oh for
play
sure,
multiple different things with on that same character. Like it's
yeah,
great that if they can play different characters and play different roles, right? Like
yeah,
that's great. But having it so that individual isn't needing to go for, if I need to have a melee DPS, like my flex healer is one of my flex healers is Ty, right? Like is a shaman. Okay, he plays enhancement shaman. He also flexes into resto and elemental as well as I need it for the fight. The fact that I can bounce him
yeah,
around from each one of those different spots depending on what is going on in the fight and what I need to have happen is just invaluable to me. It sucks for
yeah,
him because he's not getting that one thing that everybody else gets to do. I only play Beastmaster Hunter right now as a raid leader. That is all I'm able to
mhm,
handle, right? I don't have to flex into heals or melee DPS or whatever. He actually has a flex into all the different things depending on what the fight is. And so it sucks for him, but it does mean that he makes him more valuable to me. Like I cannot live without Ty in my
yeah.
going forward in my raid team because I need that flexibility.
Players that can flex into like I said, different specs on the same class are a huge asset, and they're very hard to replace if they are really good players as well. On top of
Yeah.
that, it saves the raid when it's in a pickle sometimes, when you end up having a healer that's perhaps had to call out 10 minutes before the raid. Nothing, not always due to their own fault, and it's just,
But also
yeah.
on progression bosses where you need
And yeah,
additional things,
exactly.
right?
When you need a specific, you need five
5
healers, or when
healers,
you need,
yeah.
yeah,
Soul
for
Hunters
sure.
was a
Yeah,
big one for that for us this season, right? Like,
yeah,
you get
yeah.
into Mythic Soul Hunters, and you find out that, I've been running with 3 healers, like, literally every single boss up until Soul
Hmm.
Hunters, and then I find out, "Oh, crap, I need to have 5 to be able to actually down this boss the first time. Um, and so that required me to take some of my people that were flexing or able to flex and actually put them in those positions. So I'm glad that I had them this season. But like, if I didn't have those people, I don't know what I would have done. We would have been looking for healers outside of guild or to be able to come in for those specific fights, taking my
Yeah.
my progression group and throwing some people that should be in there because they're great DPS or great heals off to the side because I need to have this comp to be able to down this fight.
Yeah. For sure. It's yeah, and we were luckily we had some flex, and we had uh, we had a player that was quite open to go tank, so I went to the fifth healer for that fight. I ended up staying on it for the rest of the season, but yeah, um, Soul Hunters for sure is a good example of when that is. Yeah, they come in clutch for
Yep.
sure. Um, that one doesn't work anymore. Recruitment fundament, we covered that. We'll do an edit in this section. We'll probably flip over to the next topic. Do you have anything else that you want to bring up or that I've?
For recruitment.
Yeah.
Yeah, realistically, if you are not in a position, we talked about it earlier, but I think this it's worth bearing to be able to repeat, which is if you're not in the same position that I am, where you're able to recruit consistently throughout the day, um, I
Mm.
cannot stress enough to make sure that as many different systems are currently running at the exact same time that you don't have to manage. Guilds of WoW, Facebook,
Yep,
your
yep.
recruitment discords, like whatever it is, like make sure your stuff is out there and current, and just consistently make sure you are updating that stuff because um eh, like I'm out there, I'm telling you there are people just like me that are out there consistently recruiting all the time. And if we are constantly doing that, we're going to be taking all of the great players that are out there, and once you're off of work, you're going to miss out on a lot of great players.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I when I'm recruiting, I'm using. I made a video about it. I usually primarily use a Discord server, but I've been recommended Guilds of WoW quite a few times, so I'm going to start implementing that into the recruitment workflow for sure. So what we'll do if we move on to the next topic, um, I wonder how relevant it is. But yeah, how many, or if any, have you had any like leadership disagreements or anything like that throughout the?
Oh yeah.
I think we'll limit it for the sake of not broadening the topic. Specifically, like we'll keep it to maybe the raid leaders, that leader position,
Yeah.
perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like it's when to be a raid leader, you have to have a certain type of personality. Okay, you have to have that person like to be a successful raid leader, I should say. You have to have a certain
Mm,
type of personality. And in my guild, it tends to be those individuals that are those that more alpha type of mentality, those people that that are looking for the kill, that are really pushing and really wanting to see things go as far and as hard as possibly can. Okay, that's not true of every team, that's not true of every guild, but I'm overgeneralizing here. Okay, but
mhm.
when you have a lot of people that are all within that group of individuals, you're gonna have conflicts with one another, and it happens more often than you want to admit. The things that we've put into place to be able to help mitigate those things is number one, 9 times out of 10, a disagreement will come up out of written text versus voice.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
So we've made it policy that every 2 weeks we are doing an officer meeting. Every 2 weeks, period. That's for the senior officers. For our junior officers, we are doing every 2 weeks in between the senior officers, right? So one Monday is senior officers, one Monday is junior officers. Um, in addition to that, uh, anytime things start to get a little hairy in our officer chat, I immediately send people to timeout. And like people respect me enough as a person to be able to like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna step away. I'm gonna take a breather. I'll come back later if I have anything else to say. In addition to that,
Okay.
the final thing that's really kind the final thing that's really kind of helped separate us apart in this is we have somebody that oversees the officers. My brother, as the
Hmm.
GM, has is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
ultimate defining individual that is going to make sure that no matter what, everybody that's an officer is behaving appropriately within the group. And if they're not, then we have to remove them as an officer. Like that's happened before where we have
right,
had to
yeah.
remove people from officership for whatever reason. Um, it is what it is. Sometimes that happens. Some people's just not meant to be an officer, and that's okay. Mistakes happen. Don't be afraid to step up and say, "Hey, I'm sorry. You're not what I wanted to be able to be in this position. We're gonna have to move on from you."
Yeah, I mean, I can't relate exactly to that. I've only had to remove people due to, yeah, officers as such, due to inactivity.
Sure.
So, like, long times away from the game, really.
Yeah.
You know, they've taken a break. They've said they've taken a break. They've let me know. But this break has then persisted for 6, 7 months.
Yeah.
That was not a 6, 7.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, gone for 7 months. And it's like, we need to, refill this position
Yep.
for
Yep.
sure. But no, in terms of like disagreements, which leads me on to sort of like, what's your leadership style? Um, how do you like lead the raid? And the way I manage it, it's very not the general feel I think that you get in some guilds that are going for high end mythic, well, cutting edge mythic. It's very relaxed. I speak kind of the way I am now. There's not too much aggro. There's encouragement and there's like morale boosts and that kind of thing. But in the terms of like when people mess up, it's like quite concise and it's told how it is, but there's never like any raised voices or anything like that.
Yeah.
How is your raiding style in comparison?
It just
Your leading style in comparison to
it
that?
depends. So like I mean the conflict comes in is I was in the Marine Corps. I was in the Marine Corps for 8 years, okay? And
Mm-hmm.
the vast majority of people not only in guild but also on my raid team were also not only in the military but also have been in guild for quite a while. So again, like even though I have that 25% turnover, the vast majority of people still are within that same raid team, right? Like consistently day in and day out, okay? So they're
Yeah.
used to my leadership style and how I do things. That being said, number 1, the most important thing for me is that I'm always allowing other people to do things before me. I don't care about my own personal accolades. I do not care if I get cutting edge. I don't care if I down a heroic boss. Like for me personally, it's irrelevant. For me, it's all about the team. I make everything that I do specifically about my team and making sure that they are doing what needs to be done. They are getting as far as they need to be able to get and be able to do what needs to
Right.
happen. Okay. In addition,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. There are times where I am yelling, and I'm not yelling as in like I am like going off with bananas like a freaking wild man. I am I am loud. I'm a loud individual in general. Okay. And so I am being loud when I am talking to them and there's something going wrong. Like the joke in group right now is I am constantly calling my raiders a bunch of monkeys because they're like just kind of like throwing their hands up and throwing feces all around rather than
Yeah.
doing what the
Yeah.
hell
Yeah.
they need to do. And I like and it's a joke, but I mean like they take it as a joke. Nobody takes
Right.
me
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like seriously when I'm going off about stuff like that. And then I immediately drop it and let it go. Like this is something for all raid leaders out there and all guild leaders out there. What you need to do is like if you need to address a situation, whether it be within raid or within guild, you need to address that situation and then let it go. Do not stew on it. Do not think about it. Do not like consistently like get upset about it. Deal with the situation and move on. Let ignore the fact like so many people get caught up on this idea of like I need to constantly like just go over this over and over and over again in my head. Don't do it. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is a game we're playing right now. This is not meant to be serious or real life here. This is meant for us to be able to, as raid leaders and guild masters, for us to be able to help lead a group of individuals in a game that we enjoy and be able to make sure that we are all accomplishing a set goal that we all have set for us. So as long as you keep that stuff in mind, it doesn't matter what else goes on, what else happens, you'll have a good time.
For sure. We've got yeah, it was a similar setup, but it's not too much in the yeah, there's no shouty, there's no making people feel bad for their mistakes. Mistakes
Yeah.
happen. It's Mythic for God's sake. You are gonna mess up. It's the nature of how that is. But when we do get to certain situations where the same mistake is happening time and time again, it is iterated and it is put in place that this needs to be fixed. In the past, I have taken longer than I should have to remove or replace players that necessarily aren't clicking as fast as everyone else,
Mhm.
which for sure is I'm learning
Yep.
and improving from that each raid tier.
I've done that
By no means, by the yeah, I may be doing these videos and that, but by no means am I a raid leader on the caliber of anyone near or close to max. Like liquid max or anything like that. Like I think our guild rankings, like, it's not even top 1,000 EU. We're not anything massive. I mean, for sure we've accomplished a lot, and I'm proud of what we've accomplished. But I'm not an esteemed raid leader.
Yeah.
I can only comment on um, the experiences and bits and pieces that I've gathered along the way. But yeah, where was I on that? Yeah, like when it comes to replacing people, it will be faster now than it was previously. I've learned from that,
Yep.
and but yeah, joking around with the team is for sure something
And that's
that that,
been my
that
downfall in
comes
the
in.
past also, right? Like that's something that any team that is going from like that more casual mindset and working their way up to
It's
that
hard to
mythic.
transition.
Oh, absolutely. I lost so
So
many
hard.
good, great players because I could not adjust fast enough. Because I made the
Yeah,
mistake of like, look, I like this person. This person's a friend of mine. I don't wanna
yeah,
have that person remove that person, have that tough conversation with that individual. Like I just lost so many good players because of that. But every individual has to go through that to get to the point of being able to say and say it in a way that's not going to make it seem like you're just a complete asshole of like, hey, look, I appreciate what you're doing for us. I appreciate what you're doing. Like we can continue working on what you need to continue working on, but we need to start looking to get you into at least a bench spot or in a different raid team because I just don't think you're at the capability of what we're wanting to do as a raid team.
for sure. Those conversations are always tricky though, but they do get easier the more, as bad as it sounds, the more you have to do them, the easier they do become.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, you figure out a way in which you lay out your messages into where it's understandable,
Yeah,
and having a team that can go back and re-clear bosses and make sure everybody gets vaults in the gear and they're on a relatively same eye level as the rest of the team definitely makes that transition easier because we didn't have that in the past and we have somewhat this tier, but going into midnight will be a solid part of what we're doing. Consistently taking the whole roster through and keeping them up to date, which gives the people on the reserves a more of an incentive to stay because they're still getting to do the content. They might not be in for progress every progression boss, but they're still raiding mythic at least a couple of bosses each week, if not a full vault each week if we can, if our rotations are good, you know.
well, one of the good things about our guild is the fact that we always have something going on, right? Like we always have
For
like
sure. Yeah.
if you're not able to get in there to get in that week for whatever reason, you could still go jump in a heroic group. I mean, they're flex groups, right? You're able to jump into a heroic group, go get those vault slots. It may not be that mythic spots, but you're at least able to fill out those vault slots. You're able to jump into to the Mythic Plus groups that are running that are currently running. If a team, so our benches are guild wide. So if an individual is on a bench, for one team, they're on a bench for all teams. And if ever a team needs to
Right.
have
Okay.
you, they could just simply say, "Hey, what are you doing tonight? I need somebody." They put out a plea out. We have a special channel for that where they go out there and say, "Hey, Coda Raider, I need a healer for tonight for these bosses. Who's available? Who wants to come with?" And so they're on benches for all of the raid team if you're on a bench on our guild. And so they, even though if you're on a bench, you're probably still going to get mythic vault slots no matter what.
Yeah, for sure.